Hey guys, Colby with Fanout here. Just wanted to give you a little disclaimer for this video. We had some issues with our recording solution, so the video quality and audio quality are not great. We ended up having to go with a backup recording. Hopefully it won't happen again. We are working on it. Hope you enjoy the video. This is our last video in the MCU Rewatch series for Phase 1. As always, Fanout. See you guys. What's up, Fanout Crew? Colby, Brian, and Jonathan are back with the next movie in the MCU Rewatch series, and it is the final and best film in Phase 1. And since this movie is a team-up movie, we thought we would kind of team up and combine our scores for this one. And I think we should just go ahead and get right down to it and start with the first category. And what do we have for the first one, Brian? Cinematography?
Yeah, cinematography, our combined score was 4.5 out of 5.
So I remember watching this movie in the theater, and I loved the way this movie was shot. The scenes in the helicarrier particularly are just really good. I remember when they were all kind of huddled in that one lab when they're looking for trying to find the signal to the Tesseract. The camera is on a Steadicam, and they're just moving between the different characters, and when they're arguing about shield monitoring threats and all this stuff. Just a really cool shot. There's the CGI in this movie is way better. I mean, Hulk looks amazing compared to how he looked in the Incredible Hulk.
The best
and it was
scene
only
in the film.
Yeah, and it was only 4 years after that, so it's not like it's been that long. So this movie's just beautifully shot, very well done. The camera work, the money shot of the Avengers finally first forming in New York when it goes around all of them. Beautiful. Jonathan, what do you got?
Dude, we could be here on cinematography for a very, very, very long time. We were talking about before we started this video. None of us dislike any one thing about this. So really quick, you give any cons about it, they're quickly outweighed by all the pros. Again,
yeah, they're nitpicks at best.
Yeah, they're nitpicks at best. I mean, I was talking to these guys, and my negative experience with the movie, with the cinematography, literally comes from I heard that little earworm from Joss Whedon in the director's cut talking about how shots were made for 3D. And again, as I was explaining to Colby and Brian, I haven't seen Avengers in 3D since 2012. So all the 2D stuff, and now I see it. Now because he said it, I see it when I watch this film. So, but yeah, I think Colby touched on what I think is one of the best cinematic moments was, the Avengers becoming a team, encircled and screaming. But I'm going to add one of my favorites. I'm going to add two really quick favorites. Two. Iron Man is showing up, standing right next to Captain America, overlooking Loki, and we see Cap and Iron Man standing shoulder to shoulder.
Make a move, Reindeer Games.
Oh my God, it was great. And then the next one, I want to I'm always angry. Anytime anyone has said I'm always angry since 2012, that is a reference to the Avengers.
Hey, I understood that reference.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So go ahead, Brian. Go.
What do you got, Brian?
For me, I think one of the best examples of great cinematography in this movie is actually Bruce Banner's transformation. It's I think first time we see Mark Ruffalo change on the helicarrier, and
so good.
Whenever he's kind of hunched over and kind of crawling around on all fours, as he's starting to Hulk out, and he turns and talks to Natasha, there's a real sense of fear they portrayed in that, not only on his own face, but for everyone else involved. And it's just really, really good. I thought that was that's one of my favorite scenes from the film. I think one of the other really
scene is surprisingly awesome. It's just so well done.
And then also Iron Man and Thor going at it a bit.
Oh man,
can't go wrong with that. I think that was kind of that was for us fans. I think.
Yeah, it was a little fan service, but it fit the narrative.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, otherwise I think I was the lowest out of us as far as opinions go with this movie. I think some of the shots you talked about, Jonathan, with that were obviously filmed for 3D. I think those shots didn't age well when you're watching it not in 3D. But at the time, I think I saw the premiere in 3D, and I didn't have the same gripes. But as a casual audience now that doesn't own a fancy 3D TV,
Yeah.
it took away from it a bit.
I think we're all of mine. Before we go any further, if you would have asked us walking out of the theater in 2012, this is one of the most perfect movies ever.
Five-star movie.
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
It
and that's
was
why I have it at 5
amazing.
because it was sort of the first of its kind and it succeeded so well. And I don't want to like do revisionist history and just analyze the crap out of it and be like, okay,
Yeah.
well, but I get it. I totally understand your point. You talked about Mark Ruffalo, Brian, and he's the best iteration of Hulk ever. So let's just go right into cast. What did we have for that one?
5.0 across the board for cast.
Yes, we all had 5s on that one.
That is
Outstanding performance. Yeah. I'll kind of lead us on this one, but Mark Ruffalo, I think he proved himself as Bruce Banner in the Hulk.
He steals the
movie.
film, dude.
Yeah, he is. I doubted it. Like when I saw the trailers and saw him, I was like, they recast Hulk again. Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with his performance, and he's gone on to become probably one of the most popular Marvel characters, like within the MCU. Definitely everyone's favorite iteration of the Hulk, I would think. But just outstanding performance. Coulson, this is Coulson's probably biggest movie out of the MCU so far, and I thought getting to see him show his acting chops a bit more also paid off.
Yeah, Chris Evans and RDJ have quite the sort of back and forth in this film, and I just love the way they're just always kind of like, sizing each other up and stuff. Put the suit on, that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, the suit is horrible. the Captain America suit is just laughable. It's a comic book movie. I get it. They fixed it in Winter Soldier. Hell, it's better in the original, first Avenger movie. The cast in this is so good. Is the sun coming up? Then put it on the left. Like,
dude.
Samuel L. Jackson is so great. I mean, there's not a bad casting in this film.
Nope, not one. You remember? Just to backtrack a little bit on the last video, I had a little rant about Tommy Lee Jones. There's a fear that a lot of actors have about being typecast, and I do apologize. Every single one of our Avengers will be the Avengers for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr. Mark Ruffalo will be Bruce Banner forever. Every time I see that, but during the Avengers, that's the other thing. When I watch the Avengers, I don't see Chris Hemsworth, I don't see Scarlett Johansson, I don't see Jeremy Renner. I see my Avengers,
The characters.
And so anyway, cast performance is a 5 out of 5. I can go on and on and on and on and on about how much I love this freaking
apparently Marvel wasn't happy with the performance of one character in this film, and I didn't think about it ahead of time, but Thanos, did not.
No, it's true.
He did not survive this film to the next. But I will say, just to touch on that, I was so excited to see Thanos in this, and I don't know the name of the guy that played Thanos for the short part in this, but I think he actually did look the part at least, but we didn't really see much from him.
Half the people in the theater were like, "Oh, purple face guy. Yeah, I know him." What?
Yeah,
that was good. So cast great. There's nothing else you can really say. Let's move on to plot. What did we have for that one? What was our combined score on that one?
This is our lowest category. So we are at a 4.2.
Yeah, I mean, it's super low score on that one.
Terrible.
This is, I mean, look, it's a comic book movie where a bunch of people get together and they fight the bad guy at the end. You know what's going to happen. It's more about the journey than it is the destination. It's formulaic, it's simple, and it works.
Yep.
I mean, it just works.
There's some boring parts of that journey.
It's not the Dark Knight. It's not nuanced like that. But it doesn't need to be. This is a Marvel film. This is much more lighthearted. Like, clench up, Legolas. I mean, come on.
We have our tropes. We have our MacGuffin, which we have to retrieve. We have our big CGI fight at the end. We have
it ticks all the boxes for the popcorn summer.
We have our and by the way, this thing that is completely, we can't turn it off. by the way, there is a way to turn it off. You know, it's that
It's a
trope is all
thermal
through the
exhaust port only
MCU.
2 meters wide.
It's like we crossed the streams. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a
Yeah,
whole bunch of stuff that it does. The tick marks they're there, and again, my only problem with the plot was the end.
With
Yeah, I think
the
it got off to a
Atari
slow
just sort of
start,
falling
too.
down.
Yeah. The you blow up the mothership, and now all the soldiers die. And gosh bless. Nah, I forgot what I was gonna say. It's gone. I quit.
Yeah, Brian, you're right. It totally does get off to a slow start. The first 20 minutes you just have to kind of get through, and then Iron Man shows up, and then it's like, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Brian.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish your thought before you forget again.
I just did. I am terrible at this. I am so bad. Hey, no, it's there. Plot point. Oh, okay. The point I was talking to you guys before we started recording. The climax of this movie is not the defeat of the Chitauri, and it is not the defeat of Loki. The climax of this movie is our heroes come together finally, and we get to see them, and they're like, hey, we might disagree on a lot of stuff, but we got to do this. And that is if you rewatch the movie as much as I have, that is effectively the crescendo, if you will. You have made it to the mountain, and then the rest is just resolution.
Yeah, it's sort of the Avengers Assemble punchline, like is the climax. I feel like one thing that may have made the plot more interesting in this film is I think Hawkeye was probably the least interesting of the Avengers to get like mind controlled. I've always been a strong I've always had a strong opinion that Hawkeye and Black Widow are probably not really fit to be Avengers. Like they're street level heroes, in my opinion. Like they just don't make sense to be fighting. Like
I think they're more like the
level
audience.
villains.
They're like us. They're like there to keep everything street level and
I equate them to like, you know, Daredevil. Like you know, he can fight anybody, but he's not going to go toe to toe with, you know, Loki. He's not going to save the universe. And so I feel like, you know, making either one of them mind controlled was. I think they just didn't really have much to do with Hawkeye, honestly, which is why I think they gave him the mind control. But it would have been much more entertaining for it to be somebody like Thor or Cap or Iron Man, so somebody with a little bit more power behind them to make it a
see
little
why they
scarier.
did it though. I see why they did it though, because it made sense. We didn't have a lot of exposure to Hawkeye, you know, before that, and he was an infiltrator. He's a spy, assassin by trade. So it was a good choice as far as in the world, you know. But
yeah, they also though used it as a way to try to draw some connections between Hawkeye and Black Widow that I think a lot of people misinterpreted as them being love interests when they definitely did not go that direction throughout the rest of the MCU. So
they're war buddies, man.
I just
Budapest.
I think I don't know if it's I don't know if it's like mass misinterpretation or if they were undecided with what direction they were going to go with the two characters.
I think it was because remember she in Winter Soldier she wears a necklace that has like like an arrow on it, and that wasn't a friendly necklace. But anyway,
so anyways, I feel like that was a gap in the plot as well.
Yeah. Again, 4.2, solid score. Let's move on to again. Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to rewatchability. And Brian, tell us why you are wrong and have this as a 4.5, and we had it as a 5. So we're at 4.8 on average.
Yeah, I'm the low hanging fruit on this one. I would say, like, again, with Avengers, it is one of the more rewatchable Marvel movies. I do think that there's a lot of dull moments in it towards the beginning.
100%.
And I think because of that boring beginning, there's been a lot of times where I've gone to rewatch the movie and then I've kind of lost interest in that beginning 20 minutes and then
the hump.
Yeah, and then I start doing something else and end up not watching it, even though I've started it with the intent to rewatch it. So I think that's the main contributing factor to that. I do love this movie, so it's not.
It's
not a bad movie. If I started the movie and skipped the first like 20-30 minutes, then I'm in. I'm probably going to sit there and rewatch the whole movie, but it's just really hard to get through that beginning.
Yeah, I hear you.
Especially if there's other stuff going on.
It's kind of an
just
inside
lose
joke
interest quick.
because I had it as a 4.5 before we started filming, and then John like didn't really twist my arm. He didn't really have to that hard, but I was like, yeah, you're right. It's 5. I can watch this movie anytime, whenever. I mean, it's like it could be on like right now, and I'd be like, oh, cool. I love that scene. You know, it's just great. It's just fun to watch. It's just fun. I mean, it's the there's so many tie-ins and callbacks in this movie that I just love. You know, the whole like $10 says you're wrong, and then 20 minutes later, Cap hands him the bill. You know, and it's just subtle.
Dude, it's
and
so good.
You know,
It's
and they the Project Pegasus tie-in. There's a Project Pegasus like sign in the very beginning that ties into Captain Marvel. Like they had all this stuff planned.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes here, and I'll probably cut out the part where I'm just looking. But give me a second.
Man,
It's been like 3 weeks since I watched this.
That man's playing Galaga.
that man is playing
That's this
Galaga.
movie, right?
Yeah. Damn it! I had one written down. So like the whole like, so some of the tie-ins are just sort of subtle to like to the next scene. Like, can you tell us anything more about the Tesseract? You should have left it in the ocean. Boom, Iron Man. Like just perfect.
I would say that this movie, I was Marvel like it throughout Phase 1. I think Marvel was really experimenting with the right balance of seriousness with humor mixed in, and this movie got that mix perfect.
The one-liners in this one are perfect. Just genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Right. And I feel like through all that experimentation throughout Phase 1, they hit the perfect balance of humor and seriousness, mixed with everything else in this movie. So I think that formula has paid off for Marvel. That's why there's so many movies and it's still ongoing. But I think this one really set the golden standard from this point forward on what a Marvel movie is and can be.
Or what everyone else has been trying to do. Everyone's trying to get some form of shared universe going, and everyone else is failing, man.
Yep.
With the exception of there could be an argument made about the Sony Spider-Verse that they will eventually do, that I think is around the corner. But dude, it all stems for how just awesome this movie is. I don't think any of us have touched on like we still haven't talked about. I mean, we get seeds planted for Civil War in this movie. We see Tony Stark eye to eye with Cap, and they are
there's also seeds planted for Winter Soldier. I mean, Cap is questioning
everything.
He's questioning what the government is, what Shield is doing with the weapons, you know, the Tesseract and making weapons, and then that just plants a little bit of doubt in his head that maybe this is not the country that I remember. Just perfect, dude.
It's so freaking good. That's all I can say about it.
And it's not just all like pomp and circumstance and visual and all style. Like there's total nuance and substance here. It's just great.
The only thing that doesn't pay off is that kind of implied romance between Black Widow and Hawkeye. That's really the only thing that does not pan out.
For those watching at home, Brian was really shipping what's the word for them? Natasha and Clint. Clintasha? Ooh, I don't know about that.
I wasn't shipping them, but I mean, it's think about it, rewind yourself to 2012.
You were a Brutasha fan in Age of Ultron.
No, but in all seriousness, rewind back to 2012. How many people thought there was going to be a love triangle between Bruce, Clint, and Natasha?
Oh, I mean,
I'm sure
it was very common.
Yeah,
it never panned out.
No.
What's next?
Once you go green, you never go lean. I don't know.
That is the dumbest thing you've ever said, and I'm laughing. It was pretty good. Once you go Hulk, you don't go bulk. No, that makes no sense. Anyway, Brian is about to kill himself.
Once you go Hulk, you never go Hawk.
That's not bad.
We're gonna be here for a minute thinking about this.
Once you go a word that rhymes with Clint.
Once you go Banner, you don't visit a tanner to get your quiver.
We're so close, guys. We're so close. We gotta figure this out.
Once you go Banner, you never go Quiver.
That's horrible.
No. That's terrible. Don't use that. Don't put that in the title.
Once you don't quiver, you go banner.
Stop saying quiver.
What? Okay.
And quiver has some implied meanings, I think.
It does.
Anyway, what's the next category?
Once you go, Burton, you don't be starting. Or you don't be starting unless you go, Burton.
I feel like there's also a Green Arrow joke in there.
Yeah,
too.
we're really close, dude. Once you go green, you don't go Oliver Queen.
That's it. But
we're done.
Different.
All right, all that.
Stanley Tucci was in Star Wars. Star Wars sucks so bad with Stanley Tucci.
All right, yeah, that Star Wars movie that he was in was horrible. I never even watched it. All right. So, Brian, what's the next category? I believe it is the music score, which we had another clean sweep on this one. This was also a 5 for everybody. Alan Silvestri absolutely kills it in this movie. Like, it's no longer the Avengers theme. It's basically the MCU theme.
Yeah.
Dude, we will
so good.
One second. We'll talk about Infinity War, I'm sure, at some point. When Thor arrives in Wakanda, that is the best scene in the entire MCU. The second one is when they do the camera sweeping around the 360 camera with the Avengers forming up, and it's the same score in both scenes, and it is perfect. What's with the face, John?
The best scene in the MCU is our childhood pushing all of our action figures together during the Avengers theme, and they all collide with Giant Man punching a big ass Chitauri alien in the face.
Oh, in Endgame, yeah,
dude,
yeah.
you don't get to make bold claims like that, sir.
I lean more towards Colby's scene. Actually,
up until that point, we'd never had anything like that. Like, I had people standing up in the theater clapping at that point, and it was just a perfect scene. Anyway, I digest, as Seth MacFarlane would say. Music score is a 5. The music in this movie is perfect from the very beginning. You instantly, there's not a person on this planet who doesn't know the Avengers theme.
So interesting thing about the Avengers theme in this movie, it was so well done that it actually found itself in some of the Marvel animated shows every time the Avengers show up. Like, this isn't just an MCU theme. Like, it ended up becoming the Avengers theme in all of the Avenger products.
Free Guy, spoiler alert. I mean, yeah.
I haven't seen that yet, so thank you.
I won't elaborate.
It's on a personal note, it was the Avengers theme song made me get on a piano. I was like, I want to be able to just to one note this thing, and I did, and it's still the only thing I know how to play on a piano is the Avengers theme. And I'm just like, I love it. I'm like, nope, boo. I'm talking about like playing like this.
Plus, the way that they're able to change it and slow it down, like the beginning of Infinity War, where it's really deep and slow, and it's, dude, so good. That, I don't know if he designed it that way on purpose to be so versatile, but like, you can play that score in any tempo and any like key, and it's instantly recognizable.
It can be worked to portray a lot of different emotions.
It's like the Imperial March. Like, it is ubiquitous at this point. You can put it wherever you want. We heard the Imperial March a little bit in
That's
the Batman
a made-up
trailer,
word.
you know. So it's your face. Boom. All right. So
that puts our overall.
Yeah.
So we ended up at 4.7.
Man, that's a monster score, dude.
Not
I don't think we're surprised. You know, I don't think anyone's really surprised. This is the best movie in Phase 1, followed shortly by the original Iron Man. And that's not really.
I think we had at a. What do we have Iron Man at? 4.1.
4.1 or 4.2.
Let me double check.
I don't do
4.3.
So okay, so Iron Man's solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this movie it's definitely stood the test of 9 years. Going on 10. It's aged very well. It's I think solidified Marvel's future, and with their MCU, at least through phase 2.
This proved that the experiment works.
Yep.
And Kevin Feige is a genius, and we would be nowhere without him. So
Yeah, we would be like,
What would we even be talking about right now? Would we even be friends?
we'd be
I mean, Jonathon and I would be.
we'd be doing Star Wars rewatches, and we'd be done because that would have been 3 videos long.
Actually, it's pronounced Jedi. There's no S in it.
Yeah, it would have been one of those.
Yeah, it's not laser sword. That's a good question, because seriously, try to imagine if this was just 5 separate movies, Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Cap, and that's what we got.
Yeah.
Great. But dude, this proved that it could work. You could share screen time, and you could do all of this in 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever this movie is. It doesn't feel long. It's well paced, except for the part where Iron Man fucks with a windmill for 20 minutes. But
and Marvel
Jonathan got the
Studios produced this whole phase in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like less than 5 years, actually,
4.
because 2008.
Yeah,
so
4 years.
4 years.
I think they started I wasn't privy to be a part of these videos when y'all did Iron Man. But recently, Robert Downey Jr. Mentioned an emotional meeting that he had with Jon Favreau when they sat down to do their first. It was RDJ and Gwyneth Paltrow sat down to do their first reading together, and he looked at when they were done with or just saying the lines. Like Jon Favreau was like emotional, and they were like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "This is gonna work." You know what I'm saying?
He's one of us.
Yeah,
Jon Favreau is.
and so it's just like this is.
Look what he's done
awesome.
for Marvel. Like he brought back Star Wars, like with the Mandalorian. He redeemed my faith that Star Wars can still be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously Dave Filoni is involved with that too within the Star Wars universe. But I mean that man,
yeah,
that man.
That's Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
If y'all had to, if you guys had to put a stamp or a bow on phase 1, where, how satisfied are you guys with that little collection of phase 1 Blu-rays all sitting next to each other? Like you look at it, you're like, you know what?
On their
I have
on their own or compared to the other phases?
No, just by themselves. If you look at phase 1 by themselves, and you're like, you know what, this right here. I mean, it's a solid foundation.
We don't get Civil War without this. We don't get Winter Soldier. We don't get Guardians. We damn sure don't get Infinity War or Endgame without these movies.
Yeah.
Phase 1 in a vacuum is probably the third best. Like if we call that a franchise, phase 1 by itself is probably the third or fourth best movie series ever.
Yeah.
With like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings being above it. Yeah. And I don't even know a third. So it's definitely the top 5.
You can make an argument for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't get much better than this, especially whenever you look at it as a package. And then it's it's beyond that whenever you add in phase 2 and beyond.
Phase 2 didn't start out very, very well with Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World, but it finished strong.
If I'm not mistaken, and again, I don't want to go on a
2 of the best movies in the MCU were in phase 2.
Sometime after this is where Disney cuts the check for Marvel.
It's right after this. In fact, Iron Man 3 is the first Disney movie, and people were like, "Oh,
you can
crap!"
Tell.
Yeah.
With Iron Man 3, again, y'all guys can cut this if you want. I'm
just gonna, turn my headset off, because if we're gonna talk about Iron Man 3, I'm just gonna zone out.
The first thing.
No, you're right.
Yeah, never mind. I'm not even gonna get started. I'm not gonna get started on.
When we get into the Iron Man 3 video, I'll just mute you guys and I'll just bitch for 30 minutes, and then we'll call it done.
He'll just be sitting there. He'll be sitting there in his camera.
So maybe let's poll our audience on this if anyone's actually watching, but leave a comment if you'd be interested in us talking through sort of the history of Marvel almost going bankrupt and then kind of resetting itself with this franchise and going to Disney.
Yeah, because it's
Might
not
be
like
an
Iron Man was
interesting history.
Iron Man was not an A tier hero
was
when this
C.
thing happened. Yeah,
He was a
exactly.
C tier guy, man.
He's not.
And
He's
now,
not X-Men. He's not Spider-Man. You know. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
can't
maybe if
believe-
there's interest from the audience, if you guys are interested in knowing more about that history, let us know. We'll put together a little video talking through that timeline for you.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you guys have anything else before you wrap it up? I mean, to me personally, the one-liners are so good in this movie. The callbacks from other past movies and future films. This movie is just the perfect way to end Phase 1.
Yeah, and I think Marvel is, they've done the post-credit scenes in all of these movies. I think that the post-credit scene in this kind of is one of the more meaningful ones, with it being the end of Phase 1 and kind of laying the foundation for what to expect next.
Yeah.
At least
you
if
were
you
gonna say
were
the
already a Marvel
Shawarma
fan.
one.
No, I mean, that's a good end credit scene, but I think this one kind of paves the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. John?
Man, it's not a perfect movie, but it
It's
is
not.
a perfect comic book movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it's just like people, like, if people want to rag on you for liking a particular thing, you're like, oh, dude, when I went and I spent my $12 to sit down in a theater, didn't miss the $12. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's awesome. Perfect.
Let's compare this to, like, like you mentioned earlier, John, when you walked out of the theater seeing this in 2012, you were like, holy shit, this is a perfect movie, right?
Yeah.
In comparison, like, the probably biggest competitor that DC tried to put out was like the Batman v Superman movie, and I remember leaving the theater on that one and being like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, I remember being pretty speechless after that one, but not in a good way. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, and so I think that also
was definitely
speaks,
made. Like,
but that speaks volumes, I think, to Marvel's talent throughout this whole phase of while a superhero movie seems like a very simple formula, there's been a lot of other people to try it and fail.
Yeah.
Sony hasn't got it
why do you
right.
think
Universal didn't get it right.
Why do you think
DC
it's hard
can't
to
get
make
it
video
right.
game movies? Because they're hard to make. Like, there's not very many good ones.
Yeah, other than Super Mario Brothers. And so anyways, no one can get it right besides from Marvel so far.
Stop. What?
Somebody can... Oh, I'm so sad.
In our lives that we're living on this planet.
Yeah. Super Mario Brothers has an end credit scene. They totally did that in Marvel. You can thank that movie for it.
If I hang up, does this mess anything up if I hang up real quick? Hit that hang up button. We can do this again tomorrow.
Next up, we're going to do the Super Mario Brothers movie rewatch. Just signed you guys up for it.
All right.
We're probably not going to do that.
Probably not, because I'm not watching it.
You know what, though? Actually,
I'm not doing that now.
When the new Mario movie comes out, we need to compare the two. So
I don't have to even watch the new one to compare it. It's better than the other one.
I'll compare it then.
Let's bring this one home. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, Fanout Crew, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you thought about this movie. Leave us any feedback you have, thumbs up, dislike, whatever. I don't care. Just interact with the dang video. We'll be back for another rewatch. We're going to keep doing this for phase 2, I believe. So expect another video from us in about a week. And
look out for some pinball content too, because we're really working on that too.
Oh yeah.
Slapping some balls. Or y'all are not slapping balls with your pinball machines? I don't know how the hell y'all play.
No. Fan out.